Hi, I'm Professor Nugent. I'm going to be your instructor for undergraduate corporate finance this summer. And this is the introductory assignment, sort of an assignment that you're going to work on before our class starts later this summer. And the idea of this assignment is to kind of get you started in thinking about finance. And what we're going to do is we're going to run a financial simulation. So you're going to have some practice and experience running a simulated company, making a lot of the key corporate financial decisions that a CFO would make to get you some virtual or simulated experience. So when we talk about certain topics that we're going to cover this summer, you'll have a connection to it. You'll have an understanding from a business corporate point of view. So if you're an undergraduate student and you never worked as a chief financial officer or a financial manager or a finance job of any capacity, that's why we're doing this simulation, to give you some experience of what it's like to financially manage a company. So that way you can take this experience, combine it with the education and learning goals this summer, and come away with a really strong understanding of what we're trying to do. So what we're going to do is you've been hired as the president and CFO of your automotive company, and you are going to run this automotive corporation for the next 6 years. And once you complete 6 years, which is 6 rounds of the financial simulation, you will enter the data into the spreadsheet to help you analyze the results. So this assignment will also help me to understand where your spreadsheet skills are and give you a little bit more work in spreadsheets and Excel, because this is a very important skill for anybody in finance or in business to know. So we're going to work with this spreadsheet and the data. So in this spreadsheet, I have different workbooks, and the workbooks are down here. So in this spreadsheet, the first workbook is the financial statement analysis. And this is where you're going to enter in your financial statement data so we can analyze with financial ratios your financial data. And then we're going to look at your sales growth. So in this slide, this workbook, we're going to analyze our sales growth. In this workbook, we're going to analyze our cost of capital. Here, we're going to analyze our capital budgeting. We're going to do an industry average. And then we're also going to produce some charts. So it's a pretty broad overview of Excel, the functionality of you could using Excel to analyze financial data, which is great. Now, and I'm going to give you step-by-step instructions of how to complete the spreadsheet, as well as many different, if you see this little red corner up here, this pulls up a comment box. So in a lot of, you'll see these little red triangles in the corner of this is where you're supposed to enter data, and I give you hints of where to get this data from and what to do to enter it. So throughout this spreadsheet, I've grayed out a lot of cells you don't need to enter. I put all the formulas in for you, so you just need to enter in the data. And I put little red triangle comments to help you to understand where the data is going. So I'm going to be very supportive in you completing these spreadsheets. And it starts really with this video. So let me go through the simulation first, and then we'll come back and do the spreadsheet. And this is going to be, a step-by-step guide of helping you get started and helping you work with the spreadsheet. So that at the time this project is done, and they gave me a window of about 10 hours was what the length of this assignment should be. So this fits in very nicely. It'll probably take you about 5 to 6 hours to complete the simulation, and then about 4 hours to complete the spreadsheet. Could be less, could be more, most likely less. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to register for the Zoom simulation. So here is the website, jupiterinteractive.net, and our class code is Denmark. So let me show you how to register as a student for this. Okay, so this is the website for Jupiter Interactive, and you typed in jupiterinteractive.net. This is the website right here. And our class code is going to be Denmark. So the first thing you do is student sign up. So you click here to sign up for a student. And you enter in your first name, last name, email address, create a username and password. Make sure it's something that you can easily remember, and confirm the password. You click you are not a robot. Okay. And then, so if I'll just kind of fill this in. And this is just some bogus data to show you. And you create username, password, click you're not a robot, read the terms and conditions, agree to it. If you agree with them, continue registration. And then here, there is no activation key because you have to use your credit card to register for the simulation, and it's $34 for the simulation, and you just fill this out. Once you've registered for the simulation, then you want to log back in again and put in your username and password, and you log in. So now the first thing is going to ask you once you've registered and paid for the simulation, the first thing it's going to ask you is for a class code, and this is where you type in Denmark, and that should be easy to remember. And submit class code Denmark. Oop. Should be easy, right? Denmark. Oh, you know what? Hold on a second. It helps if I actually create the class, which I just did, so it will work now. Denmark. Okay, so put in Denmark as a class code. Click class code. Okay, so we're in, and now we're not playing the classroom competition. We're playing individual practice because since this is a preliminary assignment, you don't have a team of students to work with. You're working by yourself. So click on Play Individual Practice. Okay, so when you go to individual practice, the first round, we just have 4 screens, and this is year 1. So for year 1, what we have to do as making all the financial decisions of the company, we have to start in sales. So in the sales area, we are going to have to develop the vehicle. So the vehicle, let me just resize this for a second. Okay, so before you actually start the simulation, you should probably go over the student user guide, and the student user guide will detail a lot of areas about the company, especially sales, and it'll show us that there's 6 selling characteristics: fuel economy, engine power, safety, luxury, reliability, and sales price. And we'll also go over forecasting. So each of the vehicles grow at a certain percentage each from year to year, and we get this chart that helps us forecast our sales. And what this chart basically says is these would, in essential, if all your competitors were equal, this is exactly what you would sell every year. So if you make cars that you think are better than your competitors, you should forecast more. So in year 1, these are my numbers. I should forecast more than this. If my cars aren't as competitive, I should probably forecast less than this. So it gives me a good idea of my forecast. So if I go back here, so here's the importance factor. It shows me how important fuel economy is. It's very important to the buying criteria, so I'm going to keep that high. Whereas engine power for economy vehicle is not as important. So maybe I'll go a little lower on that. And put in luxury features are not as important. And reliability is in the middle. Okay. So I put my features in developing the car, and I can go between the customer expectation range, above or below it. And what's ever most important, the factor that's most important, is where you want to compete with the other car buyers. So I see here the sales forecast. I'll go back to the user guide, and I see that year 1 for economy is $21.88. I don't feel that my car is as good as it could be, so I'm going to forecast a little bit below that to be conservative. And then I just repeat the same process with, I see that safety features are very important for sedan, I guess because it's a family car, so I want to do a little bit better in safety features, but I'm not so worried about, you see that if you do something that's not good, you will get a pop-up box. They'll give you a warning, and you say, okay, so I have to make this. There's certain minimums you have to meet for your vehicle to work. Okay. So again, I'm going to look at what is the sedan. It's 2600. I think my sedan is pretty good, so I'm going to go maybe 2700. I think it's a little bit better than most people's sedan. Actually, maybe 25 because my price is kind of high. And again, now for the truck. And then I put my price in on the truck. And what is the sales? 18 and then 1688. So I don't think my truck is that good. I'll do 17. And then again, lastly, you're going to do the luxury vehicle. Since price isn't that important, I can make the price high and not worry about, and let's see, this is at 1688, so I'll put 1700. Okay, so I design my vehicles. Now, since we're doing the individual practice, don't worry about these reflective observations. You don't have to answer these. You could read them and think about them, but don't worry about, since this is we want to conserve on time here, I'm not going to have you fill out these reflective observations, just the numbers. And once a page is completed, you scroll down to the bottom, you submit the data. Okay, now I'm on the marketing page. So here, what really matters, what you really have to fill in here is just the advertising investments. You can skip the demographic target. That doesn't affect the calculations. Just the advertising investments here is what we're going to worry about. So they give us a nice range of money that is what is likely to be spent in each of the advertising areas. So if I go to the student user guide, I can look over my marketing area and advertising, and it shows me the percentages of effectiveness for each of the marketing areas. And I see that television is the most effective, followed by maybe newspapers and direct mail. So those are the three areas that are most effective. And what I want to do is I want to put in my dollar amounts. So I'm going to just put in my dollar amounts. I know these are the three most important areas. So let me cover these equally. And it looks like there's more spending on looks like a truck, luxury, and truck. So I'm going to increase my advertising budget for those two. Okay, so now I have my advertising budget in. I fall within maybe the high end of the range for my advertising here. So I'm going to go with that. And again, you don't have to fill out the reflective observations. This is the panel you want to fill out here. The demographics are tied to these reflective observations. Since we're not doing the reflective observations, just fill in the advertising investments. The demographic target has no effect on your actual sales. It's all the advertising investments here. And so I'm just going to put some money in the other categories just so if there are any customers there, I don't want to miss them. So I'll spend a little bit. If no one spends any money in this area, one of my competitors will get all the business. So put a little money in there. So let me submit my marketing data. Okay, so now I'm in production, and I see that here is my current capacity. I have one manufacturing plant that can make 1,000 units. And I'm going to need an additional plant. So I'm going to buy one additional plant to give me the capacity of 2,000 vehicles so I can manufacture my 1,900. So here I want to manufacture 2,400. I only have one production plant that makes 1,000 vehicles. So if I put in an additional production plant, I'm still only at 2,000. I need to build 2,400. So I'm going to buy 2 plants. And each plant costs me $10 million. So now I have enough capacity to build my production. And I don't want to buy more plants than I need because they're expensive. And there's no point of having a plant sit idle that isn't being utilized. So, okay. So, and you always want your excess shortage to be 0. So build exactly to your forecast. That's why you're forecasting. Don't try to pad your excess vehicles. Build exactly to your forecast. Now, these operational investments are key to doing well in this simulation. So for each round, you want to be investing money in these operational investments. So I'm just going to put some money in here. I'm just going to put level 1 for all the investments. So for every car, I'm spending $8 million investing in my operation. So what this does is there's a chart down here. For every level I buy, I get a $300 cost reduction. So if I'm buying 4 levels, I should get a $1,200 cost reduction. So when I build the car next year, it's going to be a lot more affordable. Okay, so now that my production is done, I'm going to go to the final page, which is finance. So here's our capital structure. And first I'm going to scroll down. This is last year's financial statement and the pro forma next year. This is one of the concepts we're going to be talking about in class, the pro forma financial statement. It's sort of an estimate of what my financial statements will be next year. And I see that I have a deficit of $14 million in my cash. So that's bad. No business should have a deficit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to borrow some money. Oop, this is retire. I want to do the additional funds. So I'm going to borrow some additional funds here. Okay, so I borrowed some additional funds. Now I have a surplus of $2 million. I want that to be just a little bit more. So now I have a surplus of $5 million. Okay, that's, I think, $5 to $10 million surplus is pretty good. And this, so I asked for some additional funds to balance out, make sure I have a surplus of cash. And now I'm going to, this completes the round. So once I'm done with the financial data, this will complete the round. And now I come to the overview. So this is the financial ratios. Another big part of our class is analyzing financial ratios. So it looks at my year 0, which I didn't manage the company in year 0, but I did manage it in year 1. So it's looking at my year-over-year change. So I had a 74% increase in revenues, 31% decline in quick ratio. I had, increased profit margin, a gross, operational, and net, so I made points for increasing my profit margin, and increased my return on equity, return on assets, market capitalization, book value. These are all things we're going to learn in class. So that's why it's important you do the simulation. So when I start talking about these financial ratios, you have an understanding of what they are and how they're measured. And the spreadsheet's going to reinforce that. So I made 936 points the first round, which is really good. I had a surplus. I had operational investments were good. My forecasting was good. So now they have this assessment where I could go in and I didn't do so well in revenues, and I can get hints on how to improve that. So if you don't do so well in the overview, check out this assessment tab to see how you ranked, what your score was, and your performance, and hints on how to do better. And of course, there are charts here I could look at, and then the industry page, which is going to be interesting. This is year 1 for the industry, and I have some data in here. And then my financials are backed up for year 1. And then it starts over. So now it's year 2. So we see here year 2. So I'm going to, what you don't ever click this, you don't want to click this reset the practice game. That brings you back to round 1 and erases everything you did. We're just going to move forward and start working on round 2. So now the customer expectations have gone up and the price has gone up. So, but here are my $1,200 cost reductions that I paid for last round. So I have my cost reductions here. So now I'm going to redesign the vehicle, and it's going to be a little bit easier to get to my profit margins that I want to get at. So actually I should go back to the overview. My profit margins were 51%. So I want to make sure that I at least do that well, if not better, on my profit margins. So it's kind of hard here. %. So I'm not really beating my profit margin, which is not. Investors always want us to maximize wealth, maximize profits. Let me see what the forecasting would be. Go back to the user guide. So we're at the economy 27, 33, 21, and 22 for year 2. So let me see. Maybe I'll go for 27. I'll do 2,800. And all right, so I got my percentage up to 50, almost 55, which is higher than the 51 I had last round, which is good. So I'm going to redesign. Let me redesign, and I got my 1,200 cost reduction here, and that's from the investments of the production page. So I'm kind of doing this quick, and let's see. Year 2, 30. So I'm going to go. I'll do. I don't think my car is that good, so I'm going to do 3,000. And okay, so now truck, our forecasting for truck, 25. So I'm going to do 2,400 because I'm not going to build the greatest truck. Let's see. Price is going to be high, but I'm making my profit margin here. I'm above 50, which is good. And lastly is luxury. So luxury year 2, 22. So I'll go for 2,200, and make sure I'm high on my luxury features because that's really important to sell the car. Okay, so I'm going above my profit margin here, which is good. So let me submit my sales data. And you see how year 2 is very similar to year 1. So, but I could see here that the overall advertising ranges have gone up. So I'm going to put in this isn't really the best strategy for advertising, but let's see, 2,500. good. I'm just trying to do this quick to give you an idea. And you should by no means copy exactly what I'm doing. You should take the time to do it right. Okay, so I just need to fill in this advertising area here. And you see how it doesn't take that long to do each round. And then I'm going to go into production. So I need a new production plant here, one plant. And be careful, don't buy more production plants than you need. So here I don't need any additional plants. So here I'm going to need an extra plant here to build my 2400. And I'm going to need a plant here to do the 2200. Okay. So now I'm going to invest in this area. So just to make it simple, I'll move everything around to 2 levels. And you get points for, if you look at, I'm going to submit my production. So I bought my production plants, put in my production schedule to make my forecast so I have no excess or shortage, invested in my operational investments. So let me submit that. And if we go back to the overview tab, just want to remind you, there is points for operational investments. So if you increase your operational investments, you do get points for investing in your company. Because think of this as sort of like an analyst scorecard. So the analysts are looking at, are you increasing your revenues, increasing your profits, increasing your financial ratios, investing in the company, meeting your forecast targets, having a cash surplus and not a deficit. And those are all things that they're going to look at for your game. Okay, so now in round 2, I got to do my finance. So I'm going to go down here, and I see I have a nice surplus, which is good. So I have a surplus based on, so I'm going to actually retire some of the money I borrowed last round since I have a surplus. So, and then maybe I'll buy back some stock. Okay, so so now I have a surplus of 19 million, which I think is pretty good. So I'm retiring some funds. So I'm paying back the money I borrowed in the stock I issued last round, and I'm going to complete year 2. So I'm going to submit my financial data, and that pushes me into year 3. Okay, so, and then I would, again, review my results. I made 500 points, look at my assessments, look at the charts, and then start over in year 3, completing year 3. So year 3, the simulation doesn't take that much time. It may take you a bit longer if you're going to really focus on, which is good, analysis. But now that I have 2 completed years, I can actually start working on the spreadsheet. So let's pull the spreadsheet up, and let's look at the financial statement tab. So this data in column year 1 and year 2 are just fake data to show you kind of what to enter. Now, some of the cells you'll find that if you try to enter anything, you get this message because I protected the cells you don't need to make entry into. So the first thing we're going to do is outstanding shares for year 1. So if I go to the simulation and I look at the, I'm going to go to financials on the simulation, scroll down, let's see. Okay, outstanding shares. We have 11,600 in year 1. So 11,600. So I'm going to type that in 11,600,000, I should say. Okay. So those are my outstanding shares. The stock price. Let's see. If I go to the overview, actually. Where can I bet? I'm going to go to the industry page, and I can see the stock price here. Stock price is $32.78. Okay, earnings per share is something that's calculated, so I don't need to fill it in just yet. So now sales. So I'm going to go back, and if I'm on the industry page, if I should click on year 1. So they'll give you years here. So first I'm filling in year 1 data. So I made a mistake. My stock price for year 1 is $15.41. So let me go back. 15.41, and year 2 was the other price. Okay, so gotta make sure I'm year 1. So let me go back. So sales. So if I go back here, I'm in year 1. I clicked year 1, and I have, here's my sales dollars. 245 million. Okay, and then my cost of goods sold is 119,604. Type it in. So my gross profits is a formula. Let me just scroll this down. So this is a formula here. So that automatically calculates. I don't enter anything that sell. Okay, so now advertising costs are 7,080,000. So general limit, this is a calculation, which I could see here. So I need to enter that. And you can kind of see what these zeros are? These zeros here are what I need to enter. So this is kind of your guide here. So fixed costs. Now year 0 is already entered for us because we're all starting together the same year 0. So year 1 is the first place you start to enter. So I see that fixed costs are a formula. Depreciation costs, depreciation expense. So depreciation expense. So I'm actually going to go to get my depreciation expense. I'm going to go to financials. And so this is also where you can get this same information. So here is my depreciation expense for financials, probably for year 1, 61 million. And I could also see, if you want to fill in, year 2 at the same time, I could do both across if I want to. So this is a formula. This is a formula. Operate less interest expense. So here's interest expense, 1,464,000. Right. Okay. Taxes are a formula, and then net profits. Okay, so I have my net profits here. So you can see that my earnings per share changed here. All right, so moving down, I need to do my balance sheet now. So I go into my balance sheet here. And cash is 25 million, and that's steady. That doesn't change because that's our minimum balance. So anything excess goes into the surplus. Advertising expense is a formula. Inventory, let's see, my inventory is 0 in there. Let's see. Total current assets is a formula, and fixed assets. So here, fixed assets, 122 million. Accumulated depreciation. Here's accumulated depreciation. It's 16,900,000. This is a formula. Okay, so now the balance sheet. The yes, accounts payable. So liability accounts payable section, 5,980,200. Oh, accounts payable is actually a formula. You see, it's the same number. Okay. Short-term debt, 11 million. That's a formula. And then long-term debt here, long-term debt, 14 million. So not all the cells have to be entered because I put formulas in here so they'll calculate. And I made them so if you try to change them, you can't because I don't want you wasting time re-entering things. And again, the hint is whatever has a 0 here. So I see, I can common stock equity, and this should have zeros here then. This is an entry, common stock equity. So let's see, common stock equity, 58 million. And then retained earnings. Retained earnings, 73 million. I could probably also just highlight this like this. And then paste that in. Yep, that works. But I lose my formatting. So I don't want to lose my formatting. All right, so this is a formula. That's a formula. I don't know, there shouldn't be zeros here then. So that kind of... Oh, so maybe the cells I'm supposed to enter are actually blank. All right. All right, so you get the point. All right, so cash surplus or deficit, I have to enter, and I have a surplus of 5 million. My surplus, and then investment in R&D, investment in research and where do I get my investment in research? I don't think it's showing here. So if I go to my overview page, I see that my operational investments are 64 million. So I have to go there. That's a little tricky. So I'll put in 64 million. This is why you should do this after every round. You should come back and do this because some data may not be listed moving forward if you miss it. All right, so that's year one. So then year two would be the same thing. I would go back. So this data is just bogus data in year two. You would have to go back into the spreadsheet here. And again, probably finance page. I'm sorry, the financial page is a good place to start in entering in your sales amount. So if we're to put in my sales amount, again, I want to keep that same format. Enter in my cost of goods sold. Okay. And so you get the pattern where I'm pulling data in from the data from the simulation, and I'm putting it into into my spreadsheet here, into the financial section. And what that's going to do is over here, that will calculate my key financial ratios. Will calculate based on so all the financial ratio formulas are here that we're going to be covering in class. So it'll give me what my financial ratios are, and it'll also give me sort of estimate where my points are going to be. This does not match up with the simulation 100%, but kind of explains my year over year and gives me an idea of what my points are going to be. So if you were to put in a pro forma information here, you get an idea of what you're going to score next round. But here we just want to put in actuals. So once we're done with the financial statement analysis, where we put in our financial statement data here, and then our key financial ratios and a year-over-year points will calculate. We get an idea of how points are generated in the simulation. Then we move to our sales growth. So what we want to do is for year one, I'm going to go back to the simulation, and I'm going to go to the industry page, make sure I'm in year one, and down here is my sales units. So these are my actual sales units, so 2,000, 2,500, 17, and 17. So I'm going here, I'm going to type in 2,000, 2,500, 17, and 17. And then for, let's see, year two, if I click here, I get to year two, and 25, 3,000, 21, okay, 2570, 3,000, 2195, and 2,200. Okay, so these, I'm entering my actual sales, and I'm seeing what the variance is from the average sales. So see this average sales chart here? That's the same as the student user guide. So that chart's in here, and I'm just trying to see my sales compared to the average. And am I selling more or less than the average? So here for my sedan, I sold 380. So my variance is actually, the average was 380, and here my variance is 3,380, and here my variance is 380. So that's the change between, so this just helps me analyze my sales. And you should fill out these questions here at the bottom of each of the worksheets. There's a set of questions I want you to fill out that help you understand why we're doing this and what the analysis is for. Okay, so if we go into the cost of capital now, so here's a red box, and look for the red tags. This is a box, but look for the red tags to help you figure out where to get this data to fill in. So this number can be found on the Zoom Financials page under Balance Sheet, Long-Term Debt. Okay, so from here, I need my long-term debt and short-term debt for round one or year one. So if I go into the Simulation Financials page, and I see for year one, my short-term debt's 11 million, my long-term debt is 14 million. So I type that in, long-term debt is 14 million. And my short-term debt I see here is 11 million. Okay, so my total debt is 2,500. My interest, so this is the next red square here. So the interest from the financial page, look under interest expense. So I'm already here, so go up here. Less interest expense for year one is 1,464,000. Okay. So then, so this will actually calculate adjusted after tax rate. So this actually goes ahead and calculates the weight of debt. Actually, I have to also put in my stock equity. Stock equity. Look under liabilities and equity. Total shareholders' equity. Common stock equity is 58 million. So let me put in my 58 million. Okay, so it gives me 30% in debt, 70% in equity, the weighted rate, and then my weighted average cost of capital for round one. And this is something that we're going to be covering in in the simulation. So here I'm going to enter in a comment. Actually, I'll do that later. I'm going to enter in the comment where to get this cell, because that you should understand. Okay, so this is going to be our cost of capital, and then that's used in our capital budget. So our capital budgeting area, we just have to fill in where these red boxes are for each of the car classes. So we have 4 car classes. So for round one, operational cost reductions for round one, it says here, find this data on the Zoom industry page. Look for operational cost reductions. You can use this toggle at the top of the page to change here. Okay, so we want year operational cost reductions and the number of units sold. So that also comes from the industry page. So let's go back to the simulation. We're going to go to our industry page. Make sure we're in year one. And this is where I'm going to get, let's see. Operational cost reduction is 0 and sales are, so for economy, sedan, truck, and luxury, my operational cost reductions are 0 for year one, and these are my forecast numbers. So I would put in 0 and then 2,000 for, this is economy. I should probably make that bigger. Okay. Economy, and then I'm going to scroll down for this is truck, and truck I sold 25, sedan truck is 1,700, and then over here there's some more. This would be sedan. Sedan was 2,500 sales, and then for luxury 1,700. Okay, so let's go to year two. So we're going to go into year two, and we're going to, because year two actually has some data. So I'm going to go up here and click on year two on the industry tab, and I see that my operational cost reductions are $1,200 for each of the cars. So $1,200 and my new forecast. So $2,570. So $1,200 is my cost reduction, and $2,570 it would be my sales for year two, and then year two on truck $2,195, and then my cost reductions are $1,200. And I'm getting that from, I'm looking at my operational cost reductions. I'm seeing it's $1,200 for each because I kept them the same, so it makes it a little bit easier in the data entry. So 3,000 and 2,200 for sedan. So I'm going to go up here to sedan. I sold 3,000 cars, $1,200 cost reduction, and here $1,200 cost reduction. And what were the cars I sold for luxury? Were 2,200 for year two. Okay, and then you would do year three. So the data is filled in, is just you have to overwrite the data, but only for these two cells. And what this does is it shows us our savings, the total dollars in savings for making these operational investments, and then calculates the present value of that, and will give us a net present value on the total investment we're making for each of the areas. So again, for right now, you just have to fill in these two boxes. And the first day of class, I'm going to go over this spreadsheet, and we'll talk about this more. And actually, throughout the whole class, I'll refer back to this spreadsheet to connect when we do capital budgeting or cost of capital for each of these areas. Okay, so now we're going to move on to, let's move this up a bit, and we're going to move into the industry tab. So in the industry tab, this tab, we only want to get the data from round 6. So you don't have to fill this tab out until the last round of the simulation. So when we get to the last round, you're going to have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up here. You're going to click on 6. And basically for our competitors, say computer player 1, we're going to enter in this data from sales dollar down to all these financial ratios. We're going to enter it in this box here. You see how this is the same information that's on the industry page. So you put in your practice game information, then the 2 computer players. But you only do this in year 3, round 6. I'm sorry, you only do this in year 6, round 6. So this is only done once, and it's done at the end of the simulation. So this is not something you have to maintain every round. And also, something that's done at the end of the simulation here is these charts. So we're going to make these charts update, use the data from the table to the left, from years, place charts somewhere on this page. Only work on this once you have completed all 6 rounds. So you work on this at the end of the simulation. So for industry averages and charts, you work on this at the end of the simulation. Okay. Now I'm going to have you create a series of 7 charts. So let me display. I'm going to display the ribbon. Okay. So here is. Just going to move this down. This is the ribbon. So if we want to go on insert, we have these charts. So we have column, line. This is the column, line, pie, bar, area, charts. So I'm asking you to create a column, a line, a 3D column. So if you pull down this, you'll see that there's 3D column. And I'm going to ask you for a 3D line. So if you pull down line, you'll see 3D line. So what we do, so the first one, I'm asking you, create a column chart for revenues per share. So all you have to do is highlight these 2 rows of data, and then click on column, click the first box on the 2D column, and it creates your chart. And I'm just going to place it down here. And the next one is create a line chart that includes gross, operational, and net profit. Again, just going to highlight the data, and I'm going to go to insert line chart, click on that 2D chart, and there is my chart. So, and I'm going to just move this chart. This is where I just want you to display them down here. So just move them down here. And you keep adding. So as you go through each of the iterations, you create another chart, and you just build a collection of charts down here for me. Okay, very simple, not hard at all, but now you're making charts. So you may have not been able to make charts in Excel before, or enter data in Excel. So this is why I'm doing this, to give you some a little experience in Excel. And again, all of this is going to be rehashed in the first class, as well as talked about throughout the course. So there you go. So that's how you complete the simulation. So again, what you need to do at this point, I'm going to stop here, but you're going to continue and complete round 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then once you've completed all those rounds, as you're going, make sure you come back and you enter your data in here as you go for financials, sales growth, cost of capital, and capital budgeting, because some items you may not be able to have to view if you move too far ahead in the simulation. So you kind of want to enter the data as you go. And once you complete the data and get to the end, you finish round 6 and you get to the end, you'll be able to completely fill out this spreadsheet by doing the industry and charts pages, the last 2 chart pages you do once you finish all 6 rounds of the simulation. Okay, so let's go back here to instructions. Okay, complete all 6 rounds, enter in your data in the spreadsheet, and answer the questions as you go, and we will discuss during the first class. So yeah, so make sure that also on the pages that have questions, you can answer these, but you answer these at the end once you've completed all 6 rounds and filled in all your data. And some pages don't have questions, like these pages, these 2 pages, oh, there's questions down here. So you answer them as best as you can for that. I'm not going to, it's just for me to get an idea of what you're thinking. So answer them as best as you can. And this is my 45-minute step-by-step instructional video on how to complete this preliminary assignment. So I took, a good amount of detail here to help you to make sure you understand fully how to do this, because it's going to be very helpful for you in doing well in my course this summer. And I hope you enjoy this assignment, which also leaves you with some, the best thing is it leaves you with additional skills of an Excel, and also gives you a better idea of what the decisions a financial manager has to approve of or make to run a company each year, the high-level decisions. Okay, thank you for your time, and I'll see you in Denmark this summer.